With Parkinson's disease, for example, we have a progressive condition that is still very, very poorly understood. And so what's important to know is that we need to look outside the box because there is no box. There is no known cause of Parkinson's. There is no known trigger for Parkinson's. We know about trends. We know that Parkinson's typically affects individuals who've had a high burden of toxins and pesticides and herbicides and neurologically irritating exposures. But it's not something that's been absolutely identified as a cause. We just know that there's a correlation. And so from an integrative standpoint, my goal is to try to reduce any additional burden on the nervous system and on the inflammatory pathways as well, but the nervous system specifically. So I want to use everything I can to remove those toxic substances. They need to be identified first. And so fortunately we've been there are so many more testing options available now for looking at whether your body has accumulated those solvent exposures, whether the body has accumulated pesticide exposures. We can look at urinary function testing, for example, and see, are there a high level of organophosphates still present in the urine, even if you worked on a golf course in your 20s and haven't had heavy pesticide exposure since then. It is still an important thing to be fully elucidated in terms of treatment. Now, the other thing with Parkinson's that's important is that we need to slow down both the progressive neurological loss, but also the time to onset of medication. And really that time to onset of medication is dependent on the severity of the symptoms. So if I can get in there really quick and try to reduce Parkinson's symptoms, then I can help that patient wait a little bit longer to start the medication. Because the medication is very, very helpful for symptom management. It does nothing for the progression of the disease, unfortunately, and there is a timeline for which it's useful. And so the further along, the longer I can help a person wait before they start taking medication, the longer they will be symptom managed, right? I think people choose to come to a naturopathic physician and to do adjunctive care because they recognize that their specialists, their neurologists, really only have those dopamine-based drugs to offer them. And there really isn't anything additional from the conventional world. But if you take a look at some of the research available on Parkinson's, there are lots of other things that are implicated in Parkinson's disease progression and symptomatology. So that it basically means there are lots of other things that affect the disease itself, but the neurologist is really only focusing on what they have in their toolbox. And so coming to see someone like myself is really about what other parts of the body are affecting the progression of the disease. Is there a link between the gut and the brain, for example? And there's a lot of research showing us now that our gut microbiome is integral to proper neurological functioning. So is there something that we can target there? Again, does our food affect inflammation? Does our food affect our brain functioning? I think we've all had the experience of having a meal and being exhausted and having that sort of brain inflammation kind of feeling of, I could put my head down and fall asleep right now. And so obviously there is a connection between what we eat and how our brain works. Can we harness that? Can we use that to our advantage? Yeah, so let's do that.